Hello and welcome back to the Holistic Hatha Yoga podcast. I am Kelsey and I am here to talk about all things Hatha Yoga. Today's episode, I am diving a little bit further into Ayurveda, the science of self-healing, and how we exactly do that. So if you haven't already, go back and listen to, and I guess you don't have to, I'll try and add some little cliff notes in here for everyone who hasn't listened yet. Um, but go back and listen to that first one, Ayurvedas and the doshas, and that discusses the three doshas, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And so everybody's body is one of these three or a combination of the two primarily. And so using this system, it becomes very easy as to how you can heal yourself or keep yourself in balance, because if you know that you are Vata Pitta, for instance, you know that you should be eating, these types of foods and doing these types of exercises and things to help keep your Vata Pitta in check. If you are, Kapha Pitta or Pitta Kapha or Kapha Vata, no matter what you are, there are things that you can do to help yourself. And so that is what I love about Ayurveda, is that it is completely barrier free. There is nothing you need to do other than pay attention, and you can heal yourself using all of these tools. So if that sounds like something you want, or like, what about these three doshas? Like, what are you talking about? Again, you can either go back and listen to that episode, or go to my website, holistichthathayoga.com. Go to my blog. I talk about Ayurveda and the doshas there. And it kind of gives a little breakdown if you're more of like a visual or like you want to read it or whatever. Kind of breaks it down really quickly. And then also on that blog post, I'll try to link it here in the show notes so it'll be easier for you to find, is the dosha worksheet. And so you can either just download that PDF and read it. It's completely free. I'm not even asking for your email for it. Holy fuck. Is that even possible as a podcaster? Like, yes, I guess. Also dumb for me, but whatever. I'm not here to do anything other than share information and help you heal yourself through these techniques. So, that being said, no fucking email needed. It's completely free. It's there. It's for you. It's a resource. Use it. So, you can open up the PDF. You can look through this checklist. You can either mentally do it. I wouldn't be able to do that. Like I can't, I don't know, think that way. Or you can print it out or check it off, or like maybe like save it and put it in the edit document so you can like tally everything. And then at the bottom, it pops out a little number of each of the doshas, and then whatever the highest one or two or whatever, you'll be able to tell like if one wins by a landslide, or if there's two that are very close or whatever. You'll be able to like know in the tallies what your dosha is by the time you're done with that very short worksheet. So if you haven't already, go there, read that, do the worksheet. It's really fun. It's really cool. And it'll help you be healthy. So what the fuck is the problem here? Anyway, feeling spicy today. I got that pizza going on. Anyway, so leading away from into kind of the next steps of self-healing. Step one is to understand your dosha. So that is all what last episode was about, is understanding what your constitution is. There's also mental constitutions. So not only does your body have its own constitution of like what your body type is, there's also a mental constitution. And so those constitutions are, those attributes are sattva, rajas, and tamas. So sattva is like purity, clarity, compassion, and love. Rajas implies movement, extroversion, like going after it, action, aggression, all those things. It's like sensual, like, yeah, a little bit more tangible world. And then tamas is manifests in a way of like heaviness, dullness, ignorance, no inertia, no movement, things of that stuff. So ideally, you want to try to make check in with your mindset and see where you are in these three ways. We can all be guilty of all three of them at certain times, but we want to be aware. The whole fucking thing about yoga is awareness. This whole thing about life is awareness. Just being aware is so powerful. And then taking action. So ideally, we want to be in that sattvic state of mind, or that sattvic temperament. These type of people you're healthy, you are working from your highest consciousness, you're connected to that source energy, you are spiritually sound, all of the things. This would be a sattvic way of being. Um, so people who are more of like the hustle culture and like, let's do this, let's do that, go, 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 greed, more, 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 let's move, kind of that energy. And I'm not saying that like wanting more is bad. That's not what I'm here to say. It's great to go out and chase your dreams and get that wealth and get that abundance in all of the ways possible. Go for it. However, again, like I said, there needs to be some sort of balance. So you can do that all day long, but you can't live, like, you will eventually burn out. So do that to a certain point, and then at some point in your day, you know, you need to turn off, switch it off, turn to gratitude, turn to prayer, turn to community, turn to your family, do whatever you need to do to like reconnect with that sattvic side. So if you're in rajas all day long, know that that's fine, but just remember to touch in with that sattvic side. And so uh, then there's so that explains rajas basically, and then the tamasic. This is more of I would say like a mental disease. Not disease is a harsh word. As I said it, I'm like, that's not the right word. But this is where I would say like mental health issues and mental health illnesses come in. I think illness might be a better word because that maybe says that we can fix it a little bit better. Anyway, but this would be like lazy, selfish, destroying others, putting others down, um, not religious. Everything that they do is for themselves, self-centered, narcissistic. You know, all of these things that comes from Thomas. So these people sometimes are very, very stuck in their ways, and it takes a lot of mental awareness and self-awareness to move from this Thomas, you know, state of mind, mental being, to the sattvic side. So, so basically, what it comes down to is the sattvic mind is more of that self-actualized, self-realized, in touch with source mind. Rajas is a little bit more like stuck in the reality of the world, but still might have, you know, some good touching points to that spiritual side. And then Tamas people, they're typically not there unless they want to change it, and then they can make an effort to attain to that, you know, sattvic state of mind. So all of these mind constitutions are responsible for, you know, everything that we do, between like your behaviors, um, spiritual disciplines, just everything. Um, so basically, um, you want, again, like the ideal in Ayurveda is to reach a balance. So again, like, we're not saying that you have to go and be a monk every day, all day, because like that's kind of boring. It's kind of boring. At some point, you must come down from the mountain and live with the commoners, and that's where the real work is. Um, and so, you know, not only taking your body into effect, or into your consciousness as to being healthy, but also very much paying attention to the mind as well. We can't just look at one or the other. This has to be a very holistic, whole being situation, which is what I find very, very lacking in the United States Western medicine situation. And that all comes down to how we think about disease process. And so in Ayurveda, they very much believe that disease is disorder, and that everywhere that the disease is, inherent within the body itself, something within the internal environment um, is not in balance with the external environment, basically, is what it comes down to. So, like, when we have these imbalances internally, externally, whatever it is, maybe we're balanced internally, but the external doesn't seem balanced. Like, there needs to be a balance. And so, Ayurveda understands that disease, no matter how it manifests in the body, begins from this imbalance of the internal world and the external world. And from there, they're able to, you know, decide what is the problem, what needs to be healed, and how we heal it. So basically, we look at emotions, we look at that are repressed specifically. We look at, the home environment, we look at the work environment, we look at all of the person's whole life, we do a whole assessment and go, where is the unhappiness? Where is the disconnect? Where is the dis-ease, hint, hint, disease, dis-ease, coming from? And then you can begin to heal from there. Because if, the pit of your stomach is constantly, wrenching, it might not have anything to do with what you're eating or doing. It might have everything to do with that repressed emotion, or that conversation, or that repressed fear that you have that's giving you that. So until we talk through that mental repressed emotion, there's no way to cure that physical ailment without addressing the mind. So I love that Ayurveda really hones in on all disease begins from repression. And I feel like the United States is a place where we experience a lot of repression, whether it's repression of emotion, of community, just like lots of different things. Where, like, I feel like other cultures maybe don't do that quite as much, and maybe embrace their humanity a little bit more, embrace their community a little bit more, and are a little bit more rooted in reality for those reasons. Anyway, getting a little off track. So, if you know your dosha and you know your mental state, your mental constitution, and then you start to, pay attention to these ailments or these problems, um, then you can start to understand what's going on in your body, and again, know how to balance it and how to um, get back into a state of good health. So basically, we look at quite a few different, like, physical attributes to the human when doing like a whole Ayurvedic assessment. I mean, as far as just like checking the tongue, the eyes, the ears. Ayurveda is huge on the three excrements. So sweat, urine, and feces. Those are like the three big indicators of any beginning of illness or disease. And so I again love this because I don't feel like we do this in the United States. Like, I know a lot of people, probably more than I should, who I am in, and it's not like these people share all of this information with me all the time, but I'm making some good guesses and some known. Uh, some of it I know for a fact is true, and then others I'm guesstimating. Do not have regular stools every day. In that's in like the most clinical way I can say it. In layman's terms, I don't know that everybody that I know actually poops every day. Like, at least once. Like, my kids would probably be laughing their butts off. And yes, I did laugh because I said poop. But yeah, I mean, you need to shit. Like, our bodies need to let things out. And so if that's like number one in Ayurveda is like, look, if you're not going every day, if you're not having ample urine every day, if you're not having ample feces every day, if you can't sweat, if you sweat too much, all of these things are telling us there's something up. And so let's dive in. And it's so great because using that diagnosis, it catches things so quickly and so easily. I find, as far as, at least as far as like, you don't end up way down this rabbit hole of illness and like, how did I get here? Because like you can kind of start to tell, like, oh, my digestion is slightly off. I need to drink more water, or I need to eat this, or I need to cleanse that, or I need to, do a laxative or something, like a hopefully unnatural laxative, but whatever. If you just got to go to the dirty drugstore, do it up, my friend. I am not against dirty drugstore laxatives unless it's dangerous, so don't do that. Anyway, uh so I find it very interesting because, at one, I don't think anyone's doctor brings this up to them, because two, I know so many people who don't have these regular systems, and I'm like, what, you should really be seeing someone about that, or like, you should be doing something about that, you should be eating something differently because of that. Let's try something different. Like, we will not see any different results if we don't do something different. So I love that Ayurveda starts with these just nitty gritty, down and dirty: sweat, urine, feces. How are those situations going? And then let's address them from there. Um, because absorption of our nutrients happens through our digestive tract. So if our digestive tract is getting all sorts of plugged up and crazy, we're not getting the nutrients that we need. If we're not getting the nutrients that we need, then our cells are not getting the basic elements that they need to do their function. If they don't have the basic elements that they need to do their function, they are going to be abnormal. They are not going to be working at high functioning ability, of course, and they are going to be letting in pathogens and other, bad things that our body doesn't actually want, because it's in a weakened state. And so this is where these I didn't mean to say it like that, it sounded like some crazy person. This is where, um yeah, health can really make a downward spiral, because if you're not catching on to these little clues that your health is declining, all of a sudden you have all of these ailments, and now you're trying to climb up this mountain when you could have just, kicked over the pile of dirt when it was just a pile of dirt, and now you have a very hard mountain in front of you. And it's not to say that it can't be climbed, but it will take a little bit longer, a little bit more exertion, and a little bit more effort on our part. So basically, I love that Ayurveda starts us off there. Is like, if you are healthy, you're doing these three things. So if you're not having, normal urine or normal feces, like, let's work on that. Let's first just like, do you know that you get enough water? What is enough water? Is your weight divided by 2 in that many ounces. So if you're 200 pounds, divide that by 2, 100. You should be drinking 100 ounces of water a day. Get yourself a big, like, 35-ounce tumbler, like I do. Drink 2.5 of them a day, and you're good. Don't overdo water intake either, because excess is also not good. So make sure you're getting adequate water, no more, no less. Um, if your um, if your digestion was off as far as like constipation, then you would be taking a different approach. Um, well, not so much. Want you Because you would very much be paying attention to your water intake. But you could also do other things that help naturally kind of lubricate and move things along. And then also, looking at your diet, you could start to incorporate some things that would be against that constipation. And so again, we can just kind of examine our own bodies and go from there. So again, this whole self-healing science is very simple to follow, and it is thousands and thousands of years old. And I mean, I've been to India multiple times for months on end, And I can tell you, I've never seen a healthier group of people who just live off of, the food. Their health regimen is their life and their diet and their food that they eat and what they do. It's not found in a Sunday through Saturday pill box full of 18 different medications every day. So I very much trust this system. I've also been sick in India and was healed by this system multiple times, where they assessed me Ayurvedically and completely healed me Ayurvedically. And it was the best experience I've ever had as far as getting ill and getting healthy again and maintaining health. Um, Definitely not anything like I had ever experienced in the United States as far as health regimens and stuff goes. So basically, from there, we can kind of break into um, some of the ways that we can heal ourselves. And so there's a few basic ways that we can do this. Anytime we're doing treatment in Ayurveda, it is to remain or to get back to balance of that Vata Pitta Kapha. And so from here, we're always trying to address the problem from the root so that it doesn't just come back in a different form. So we're not saying, oh, you have this ailment, take this medicine because this makes headaches go away. No, we're saying, okay, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. Let's change this in your diet, let's change that in your diet, and let's see what happens and see if your headaches go away that way. After you are drinking more water and blah, 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 blah. So with that, we can kind of go into some of those treatment plans. So the first is emotional release, which is literally the number one causing, emotional release isn't the cause, but emotional holding or emotional repression, that's the word I'm looking for, is the root of a lot of disease, if not all, but most. So we can start with this, and the Ayurvedic way to deal with these pent up or repressed emotions is very simple, and I love it because it's not like this big, deep, crazy thing. It's literally as simple as observation and release. So it's just like in meditation when we're observing the thoughts and releasing them. This is the same thing that we can do with our emotions, is just observe and release. So instead of keeping it inside, observe it, release it. So when you're getting upset or angry, literally just like look at it and release it. And that will do a lot for an individual. And so that's kind of where we always start with Ayurveda, is emotional release. And then we can get into some of these other these ones are a little bit more physical. And this goes into the Panchakarma. So the Panchakarma are the 5 cleansing techniques in Ayurvedic medicine. They've been, again, practiced for thousands of years in India and other places in that area. And it is all very valid. So let's go on. Outside of emotional release, we've got the 5 Panchakarmas. The first one is Vaman. Sounds very similar to what it actually is. Vaman means therapeutic vomiting. And yes, I have done this. And so in Ayurveda, when you are having an over excess of kapha in the body, so mucus in the lungs, mucus in the stomach, maybe like hacking up mucus and then swallowing it and like that feeling all gross, sinus congestion, lots of things, going on here with that heavy constitute kapha. So when we have this going on, we can do Vaman. And this is basically where you chug, like, I'm laughing just because I'm recalling my own experience. You chug about 4 to 5 glasses of like warm salty water, not overly salty, pretty much to taste like the ocean, more or less. So like kind of salty, but like saltier than your tear, maybe a little less salty than the ocean. Anyway, so you chug this water down, and ideally you do this in the morning. That's kapha time. Um, and ideally, again, prior like to eating, like don't eat a bunch of food and then do this. That's disgusting, and that's called bulimia. We don't do that. That's not what we're talking about here. And also, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to call you disgusting. However, I don't want to see my breakfast. If I'm eating breakfast, the reason I am is because I want it to be digested, not so that we're throwing it back up. So I just want to be clear here. We are not throwing up food. We are throwing up water. So you chug the 4 or 5 glasses of water, chug, chug, chug. You'll feel that bigness in your belly, like this is uncomfortable. And then, yeah, you just kind of gently massage the tongue and get that vomiting to occur. You can do this about like 3 or 4 times in a row, maximum like 8 times. But like I feel honestly like 2 to 3 is probably good in my opinion. But I don't know if you do have like weight. Let's say you're working with weight excess kapha, like 4 times would probably do you really good. And then after that, you do a lot of like calming. Obviously, you do low energy things. You don't really eat a whole bunch, not till later, and it's very lightly, and it's specific diet of just light foods that do not produce the overabundance of kapha, so more of those pitta vata foods. And so yeah, so that is one way that we can cleanse the body and kind of give our digestion a reset if we are experiencing some kapha overload. Another way that we do this is through Virchan, and this is another purge therapy where we are essentially just doing a enema, more or less. So we use like sesame oil and essential oils, herbs, things of those natures, depending on what is going on in your gut, and doing an oil enema. And yes, that does mean putting um, like the syringe into the anus and filling more or less the large intestine with this medicinal oil. And this can help clear out excess of bile or pitta in the intestinal tract. It can help you, obviously, it's a colon cleanse, and it also helps with nutrient absorption. So if you're having very poor gut health, this is a great way to start kind of cleansing, starting from like a fresh start, more or less, and getting like a proper cleansing of that large intestinal lining. So that's another of the 5. So that's 2 of them. The third one is like a nasal cleansing, and this can also be like nasal massaging as well. So this is like if you're doing a neti pot, where you have again kind of like warmed saline water, so it has a little bit of salt in it, and you you have a certain like vessel for this. You can get them on Amazon really cheap, like literally like $1 or 2 for like a plastic one. Ceramic ones or glass one might be a little bit more, but whatever. Just it doesn't matter. You're pouring it into your nose. Obviously, don't get something with like crazy chemicals in it, but like just be smart. I might maybe link a neti pot down here too. So the neti pot, yeah, you can pour the water in through the one nostril and it comes out the other nostril, and then you do the other side. This is an amazing technique. I did this every single day for 6 weeks on end, twice in my life, and I've never been healthier. And I literally don't know why I don't do it every day, other than I have 3 small children and I have a hard enough time like just brushing my teeth, let alone like remembering to do a neti pot. So maybe I'll put that in my little to-dos, add to my like weekly health list or something like that. Like once a week neti pot, maybe not daily, but once a week might be great for me. This is something great to do if again you're experiencing sinus congestion, um, allergies, like allergy season. This is a great cleanser for that because it gets all of that shit out of there and really gets you on a better start. You can also do a very gentle massage of the inner nostrils. In Ayurvedic medicine, they believe that like that the nostrils hold like a lot of really sacred energy and a lot of um, emotional energy as well, because it is literally like our direct pathway from like earth and air and ether and space straight to our brain, straight to our consciousness, straight to our third eye. Um, and so it is seen as a very sacred and very powerful place. And so they do recommend that like for intense emotional release that an internal nasal massage is actually great for that. And that's literally what it sounds like. They recommend using your pinky finger. Make sure that that nail is cut very small and maybe even filed and soft, because that tissue in your nose up there is very, very tender and it's very sensitive. So, and we do not want to cause any bleeding of any sort. And so this is where they just really recommend a very slow, with, like I said, with some sort of oil on your finger to help lubricate the situation. I know this is sounding very sexual at this point, but it's literally just, yeah, the um, little circular motion up into the nasal passages to help release and open up the air passages or passageways. So that is another cleansing technique that we can use. Um, and then another one that we can do is bloodletting. And I am going to preface this by, when I say we, I mean you and your doctor, not anyone else except the licensed physician if you were to ever need bloodletting. However, it is a very ancient technique and there is some science to it. This is used when you have a blood-borne illness or disease going on. So, if you have like rashes, hives, something that's in like going through the bloodstream, this is where they can let out very small amounts of blood. Um, and then it helps kind of create, it relieves the tension in the blood and in the body, and it allows the blood to kind of start to reset itself and get some new stuff going on in there. You can help to, it also like stimulates antitoxic substances in the blood, which then kind of helps develop our immune system in the blood system. So then any toxins that are in the blood can start to get neutralized by by our own immunity, basically, by our own immune system. So we wouldn't use bloodletting in cases of like anemia, where you already have very low oxygen in the blood. So obviously, getting rid of more blood is not going to be helpful. I'm an anemic bitch, and I would not do well with bloodletting. Like I used to donate blood fairly regularly, and I don't anymore because I'm pretty consistently anemic. And you're probably like, well, then heal yourself, bitch, if that's what you're talking about. And it's like, okay, I am working on it. I am working on it. And again, all of this is through diet and lifestyle and things like that. So I am, I have been implementing things into my diet and lifestyle to up those iron levels so that I'm not so anemic and tired all the time. But also, that has nothing to do with me bloodletting, because that would be bad for me at this moment. So, that is another ancient technique that Ayurveda had discovered, perfected, and used for thousands of years. Um, Another one that they use is palliation, and so this is basically um, neutralizing toxins in the body by uh, kind of revamping or resetting your Agni, your digestive fire. Agni is like basically the fire within your body that keeps the energy of everything going. So you can like kind of liken it to like digestion or something along those lines. Um, so to eliminate toxins in the body and give like a full reset to the system, um, Ayurveda recommends fasting. And so this is usually done in a very controlled way, where you kind of lead up to it, knowing that the fasting day is coming. And so, a couple days before it, you are taking less food. And then the day of the cleanse, you are just drinking waters or herbal tea for the full 24 hours. And then the next day, slowly moving into some food. Um, I would say that's a very safe way to do a 1 day fast. Notes for your fast day would be like no high energy things. Like, obviously, don't go running. If you're like an avid runner, if you want to fast and do that for your body, fine, but also realize you need rest if you're gonna do that. And we can't do it all at once. We can't be training for our marathon and also resting that day. Not the same, unless your training for the marathon is rest. So, um, yeah, no high action, no running, no like, I don't know, I'm thinking of like beach volleyball, like sweat and like moving around a lot or something, or like heavy lifting, or if your work is very like physical where you're on your feet all day, probably don't fast that day. Like, choose a day where you can be a little bit more sedentary, um, and move at a slower pace. And so fasting is great for your body because, again, it kind of allows your body to come back to its own natural, balanced state without any sort of interruption from like outside food sources and things. Because if we overeat constantly, then we're constantly kind of slowing our own bodies down. So that's where these like fasting days are great for, kind of resetting the digestive fire and getting us back onto like a more natural eating regimen from there. So with all of those um, that I covered there, those are all really, really, as you can see, like really basic, um, fairly basic. I mean, you can do them all literally by yourself or fairly easily. I mean, except the bloodletting. Don't do that by yourself. That could be very, very dangerous. Let's not do that. Anyway, so don't do that by yourself, obviously. And that's obviously only in like a very extreme situation. So like you probably don't even need that, but you can schedule yourself like an Ayurvedic enema somewhere. Um, those are amazing. You can do the Vaman all by yourself, just doing that in the morning. If you want if you want coaching on that, if you think you want some help with that, let me know and I can help you out. Sometimes these things can be a little bit nerve wracking. To round out, I guess, this talk, I'll tell you of one of the cleansing techniques that I did while with my teacher while I was in India that was not listed in this book, but it is, I can't remember the Ayurvedic term for it, but it's basically cleansing. It's part of cleansing like the mouth and the nose palate area. Basically, if you think about where your nasal cavity comes and then where the back of your throat is, those two places connect in your head, if you didn't know that. And sometimes there can be buildup of mucus or just all sorts of who knows what crap, gunk, there. And so there's a there's a cleansing technique where you take like a thick kind of coarse, not coarse, a thick like cotton rope. I would say string to rope, somewhere in like a very like a quarter of an inch around or so. And it's kind of like waxed a little bit so that it has some sort of like it's not floppy like a wet noodle. It has some sort of like movement to it, a little bit of like hold. Um, and so we took these strings with the waxed ends and you insert them through your nostril, push, 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 and until you feel it hit the back, basically like the back of your nasal cavity up there. And then you continue to snake this little rope, continue to push it up your nose as it starts to, you can feel it fall towards the back of your mouth. And then you can reach with your other hand to the back of your throat grab the end of the string and pull it through. And then you have one end of the string coming out through the mouth and the other end of the string coming out through your nose. And then you literally use this like a piece of floss. And then you do the other side. And oh my God, I've never experienced anything more physically or like mentally hard or like wild feeling than that. Like it went against every fiber of my being to be like, yes, we're doing it. We're sticking this thing up our nose. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, reach to the back of the throat. Don't throw up on yourself as I'm like, like gagging, trying to like grab it from the back with my two little fingers. Like, holy cow. But I do remember my teacher just being like, this is all mental. And he was right in my face. He made me maintain eye contact with him the entire time. That was really the only way I was able to do it, to be able to put the string through the nose, grab it through the back of the throat, and do this flossing motion with one part of the string out in the nostril, the other in the mouth. And I just literally the only way I could do it was to maintain his eye contact so that I had my drishti, if you will, or I had my intention and my attention point where I could just zone in on that, lock eyes with him, and just be like, okay, we're doing this. And then I was doing it, and it was happening, and it was like, okay, this is wild. And then the other nostril, and then afterwards, it did obviously, it felt very wild. It felt more clear than it ever had in my life, obviously, because I'd never done anything that fucking extreme, sorry. But yeah, so I mean, we go to desperate measures for great results, my friends. I mean, it might sound fucking wild. Some of these things, this might be your first time ever hearing of like Vaman or of the Ayurvedic oil enemas or of nose massages or neti pots or bloodletting or fasting. But I'm glad that you now know of them and that these are extremely ancient techniques that we can use in our lives to help us maintain that body, mind, spirit balance within ourselves. So I hope you guys found this episode interesting and fun. I hope it gave you a little bit more of an idea of what Ayurvedic medicine entails. Um, and it is a lot more than what I've just described. It is herbs, it is food. You know, I think the next one we can go into and talk about is probably like Ayurvedic diet, and that discusses, you know, what types of food are good for each type of person. Because diet is a huge way of treating disease in Ayurvedic medicine as well. Outside of these like physical ways that I just described, um, their medicine is definitely food. So that's what I love as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope that you are having a great day, a great springtime, if you're in the northern hemisphere of the world, I suppose. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me a comment to ask me a question. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help me out a ton as far as getting visibility, getting my message out to other people, helping other people do self-care, getting all of those Ayurvedic techniques out there, and yeah, helping everybody live their most like holistically aligned and healthy lives. So thank you so much. One love, my friends, and I will see you next week. Bye.